السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام.
الحمد لله رب العالمين حمدا يوافي نعمه ويكافئ مزيده، والصلاة والسلام الأتمان الأكملان على سيد الثقلين وإمام الفريقين سيدنا وحبيبنا وقدوتنا ومولانا محمد، طب القلوب ودوائها وعافية الأبدان وشفائها ونور الأبصار وضيائها، وعلى آله الغر الميامين، وعلى أصحابه الكرام المغابير، ومن اهتدى بهديه واتبع سنته ومهجته الغراء البيضاء إلى يوم الدين والجزاء، وبعد. Inshallah, in this brief reunion, I will try my best to convey two essential components of Islamic education. One is its philosophy, and the other is its methodology. And I think all these are summed up very simply, as Quran is always simple. وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ. Allah said, we have made Quran simple for remembrance. فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِرٍ. So all these are concisely phrased in two verses of the Qur'an al-Karim. The one is the first revealed verse, اقرأ بسم ربك الذي خلق خلق الإنسان من علق اقرأ وربك الأكرم الذي علم بالقلم علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم. So as you notice, there are two اقرأ. First one اقرأ بسم ربك الذي خلق, then اقرأ وربك الأكرم الذي علم بالقلم. Then the other verses are in Surah Al-Rahman, also at the very beginning of the Surah Al-Rahman, then علم القرآن علم القرآن and خلق الإنسان علمه البيان. As you know, Quran is a self-explained book. One ayah here is detailed in another ayah. One surah is complemented by another. Quran is like that. The genius of the Mufassir lies in identifying the pairs and putting them together and producing a complete image. So a Mufassir, a good Mufassir, is not somebody who brings something else and elucidates Qur'an al-Karim, but one who is able to put things together as they are in the Qur'an and bring out the meaning that's desired. So the ayah in Surah Al-Alaq I explained, or vice versa, by Surah Al-Rahman. So the word Iqra in Al-Rahman, in Surah Al-Alaq, Iqra Bismi Rabbika alladhi khalaq. So read or recite by or in the name. The ba can be by the name of your Lord or in the name of your Lord, either way. By the name of your Lord who created. So that's the first thing, creation. اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق خلق الإنسان من علق. So the word creation is repeated twice. خلق then خلق الإنسان من علق. That creation, two creations, are very important concept in the Qur'an al-Kareem. That human being is created twice. We call the first one the first creation, and then the second creation. Because here we are trying to understand how human being is made by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And by knowing how human being is created, then we are able to know how to expose them to knowledge. That's what we call education. So our purpose is only to expose the human being. Knowledge is something that is given by God. That's not our role at all as teachers. A teacher is one who is able to prepare the human being to receive knowledge from the one who knows. And only one who knows is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the teacher has to know the human nature thoroughly. So those are the two things. Human being is created twice. We call the first one the first creation and the second creation. So اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق, that's first creation. Then خلق الإنسان من علق is second creation. The first creation, we call that Al-Fitra. Al-Fitra, we call Al-Fitra in the Qur'an al-Kareem. And also, the person in his Fitra is called Al-Ummi. So the word Ummiya is also an important concept in the Qur'an al-Kareem, because the Prophet ﷺ is called an Ummi. An-Nabi al-Ummi, the Ummi Prophet. The Ummiya means Fitra. The person who is in his Fitra is called Ummi. So every child is born an Ummi. Every child, because they are born with their Fitra. As the Hadith says, that every child is born in their Fitra. So we are all born as Ummi. والله أخرجكم من بطون أمهاتكم لا تعلمون شيئا. Allah brought you forth from the womb of your mother. You don't know anything. But those who ilm, you don't know anything. So you are all born as Ummi. So we have to understand that a child is an Ummi, and that as such he should be treated, or she should be treated as an Ummi. So since Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is our best model, لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. There was a good example for you, a good model for you in the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wassalam. So we'll take this example so that to see how God introduced him to knowledge, how he was educated by his creator alayhi salatu wassalam. There is a story of one of the Sahabiyat, one of the lady companions of the Prophet ﷺ. Her name was Asma, the daughter of Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhuma. She brought her son to a mu'allim, a mu'addib, a teacher, a Qur'an teacher. And he said to the teacher that أَدِّبُهُ فَأَحْسِنْ تَأْدِيبًا, that school him and school him very well. أَدِّبُهُ وَأَحْسِنْ تَأْدِيبًا وَالرَّحْمَنُ عَلَّمَ الْقُرْآنَ. So school him and school him well, and Ar-Rahman already taught the Qur'an. What he meant was that I'm not expecting you to make him a scholar or whatever. That's not up to you. So I won't hold you accountable if he doesn't come out knowledgeable, whatever. All you have to do is to do his ta'deeb, to school him well, meaning that expose him well, train him well, educate him well. But Ar-Rahman allama al-Qur'an. Ar-Rahman, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all merciful, already taught Qur'an. So he will teach whoever he wants what he wants. That's not up to the teachers. But ta'deeb is what we do as teachers. So Ar-Rahman allama al-Qur'an, خلق الإنسان علمه البيان. So Ar-Rahman, the All-Merciful, He taught Qur'an. That's the first thing. Allama al-Qur'an. So Qur'an is taught twice. Allama al-Qur'an, خلق الإنسان, He created the human being. Then علمه البيان, He taught him a second time how to know things in detail. So following that is Allah described the book as two kinds of books. One kind is called al-Kitab, or the same one book, but has two sides. One is called al-Kitab. We had the word again coming back, al-Ummi. And one is called al-Kitab. Al-Kitab. And they are both mentioned in the same surah, Surah Al-Ra'd. يَمْحُ اللَّهُ مَا يَشَاءُ وَيُثْبِتُ وَعِنْدَهُ الْكِتَابِ. The mother of the book is the word mother. Not the ummi, motherly. Somebody who is of the nature of the mother. Somebody who is in their fitra, in their first creation. It's called ummi. So al-Kitab, the book has a side called al-Kitab. It has another part called al-Kitab, the knowledge of the book. So it kind of opposes knowledge to Fitra, without what we call penned knowledge. We talk about two kind of knowledge. Knowledge that is not written and knowledge that is written. It's two kind of knowing. So the knowledge that is not written is called al-Kitab. That's the part of the Kitab which is The knowledge which is derived from the pen, called al-Kitab. That's why I said, اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق خلق الإنسان من علق. That's the first part of the book. The second part, اقرأ وربك الأكرم الذي علم بالقلم. So Allah teaches us in two ways, with the pen and without the pen. Without the pen and with the pen. With the pen, that's what's called al-Kitab. Without the pen, that's called al-Kitab. So a human being's nature is suitable to either this or that. In a child that is small and tender, they can't relate to al-Kitab. That is against their nature. A child can only learn from al-Kitab. Because a child at this point himself is ummi. So as an ummi, he can only derive his knowledge, understanding from al-Kitab. So now the teacher has to know how to teach from al-Kitab. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave us more explanation about that. He said, "Nahnu ummatun ummiya, la naktub, wa la nahsib." In Bukhari, we are an ummi nation. Nahnu ummatun ummiya. We are a nation of ummis. We do not write, we do not calculate or count. Hisab and kitab. Ummatun ummiya, la naktub wa la nahsib. Al-kitab wal-hisab. Writing and counting or calculating. So an ummi does not do that. He does not write. Rasulullah does not write. That doesn't mean he doesn't know what writing is. He does not write. La naktub. He didn't say that we don't read. He said we do not write. We don't use writing as a way of gaining knowledge. Writing is not the only way. There's other ways. There's the way of ummis, which is not through writing. So نحن أمة أمية لا نكتب ولا نحسب. We are a nation of ummis. We do not write, nor do we compute or calculate. So we do not do hisab and kitab. So those are two things that are foreign to the nature of an ummi. So children in their state of fitra, writing and counting are foreign to them. It's not suitable to their nature. That is something that needs to be put on the side until the very later. But now in our schools we start introducing children to writing and counting. This is against their fitra, definitely. So نحن أمة أمية لا نكتب ولا نحسب. We are a nation of ummis, as Quran says, والذي بعث في الأميين رسولا منهم. It is He, Allah, who sent among the ummis, nation of ummis, a messenger from among them. The Arabs of that time, Muslims. So they are ummiyin, rasulan minhum, as opposed to kitabiyin. So the ummi and the kitabi. One who is in the nature of the mother is called ummi. One who is, his nature has changed into the second creation is called kitabi. So human being has these two creations. First creation, al-khalq al-awwal, al-fitra, and the second creation, al-khalq al-jadid. So two sides of a human being. But the children, from the time they are born till they become adult, the first creation is what is more dominant in them. So we need to understand this as educators and also as parents. We need to be aware of that so that we can deal with them according to their level, not according to our level, as ummis. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, so he received the Qur'an in two ways. One from al-Kitab and one from al-Kitab, as the ayah says in Surah 2, Ali Imran, وَالَّذِي أَنزَلَ عَلَيْكَ الْكِتَابِ مِنْهُ آيَاتٌ مُحْكَمَاتٌ هُنَّ الْكِتَابِ. It is Allah who sent down a book unto you. In this book, some ayahs, some verses are muhkamat. This means that these verses are sort of have a unified nature. Muhkamat. Muhkam, something that is all put together and not in detail. Ayatun muhkamatun hunna kitab. Those ayahs constitute the mother of the book, the Qur'an. Then other sets of ayahs which are the kitab, which is ilmul kitab, or ukhar mutashabihat. So they call it mutashabihat. And there are other verses that are called mutashabihat. Mean ayahs that are similar to one another. That means only one who has Furqan can differentiate between them. And those who don't cannot differentiate between them. So I said, mutashabihat, people of knowledge. So Quran itself contains both aspects of the kitab, kitab and ilmul kitab. So ayatun muhkamatun hunna kitab wa ukhar mutashabihat. So now, as a methodology, you should teach somebody first kitab before you teach them ilmul kitab. So that's kind of the methodology. So in terms of children, the best way to teach them is to go along with their fitra, which means that not to teach them how to differentiate, but to teach them to develop a unifying perception of things. Because in that way they can learn very, very easily. So we put on hold anything that has to do with breaking down or analyzing. Children should not be exposed to that. You teach them things that are holistic, put it that way. Have sort of a global, a unifying perception of things and not a critical perception of things. that is against their nature. But that is important down the road. Once they have grown into the second creation, then you can start to expose them to such things. So how does that work in actual class setting or in a school? Is that you should teach them to memorize without using the pen, and teach them to be able to develop their capacity to contain things, to put things together. So they should depend more on their hearing than on their sight. Because hearing it puts things together. Sight breaks things into their particular components. So you should train them more to rely on their hearing than to depend on their sight. That's the right methodology. So let them make whatever lessons they need to learn. You can put them, you can present it to them in a poetry form, so that it's easy for them to memorize. Poetry, that's why they say poetry and prose. So the more poetry, the better, or the more songs, the better than just a text, a prose, because prose and poetry also relate to human beings' fitra and the second creation. Poetry is part of our first creation. It's part of our fitra. Human beings poetic naturally, but prose is something that needs to develop later on. So the more you put things in poetry for children, the better they can learn. And that's how we are growing up, that's how we learned. We memorize everything. Qur'an, of course, is naturally made that way. It's easy to memorize. As you said, that we made Qur'an easy for remembrance, meaning easy to memorize, to retain. So the more you do that, the better the children will learn. So the less you expose them to the use of pen, to write and analyze, the better for them. So we don't need to worry about my child will be behind. He has to be able to be eloquent. He has to be able to be articulate by this age. He has to be able to add and subtract by this age. And that's the concern that pushes us to push children also to grow faster than they're supposed to grow. But that, in doing that, we are violating the children's nature. We are denaturalizing them. We're taking their fitra away from them. Something that they will need again down in their life. Because once the fitra is destroyed, it's very hard to bring it back. Even in terms of your spiritual growth, your fitra is essential. If your fitra is tempered with, it's very hard to bring it back. Because this is we're talking about children, but once you become an adult, you still have to rotate between your first creation and your second creation. So routinely, that's part of your balance as a human being. So, but once your fitra, your first creation, is shut down, and you're only in your second creation, you can go back. Then in that way, you are only using a half of your potential. And even that half that you are using now, which is your analytical potential, that also is unfulfilling. As though the human soul has two sides. Your soul has two parts. So here we want the soul to become one unified soul. النفس الملكوتي الملكوتية والنفس الملكية. So the nafs in the malakut and the nafs in the mulk. So your soul has these two aspects. So the children, until they grow to be an adult, only their malakuti soul is active. The mulk one is dormant. But now we are trying to wake that up, to force them to wake up. Instead of remaining, they should continue to sleep and grow. When they are ready to wake up, they will wake up. We should not force them to wake up. Let them sleep as long as they need to sleep. That's good for their growth. So the nafs has these two sides, the malakut side and the mulk side, as they call the inner kingdom, the nafs that is towards the inner kingdom, and the nafs that is towards the outer kingdom. The one that is towards the outer kingdom is the nafs that analyzes and look at things in terms of their particularities and details. The nafs that is towards the malakut looks at things as a whole, as one. So we, as a balanced human being, you need to have these two sides of you being active. And nafs al-malakuti or nafs al-mulki, or the inner nafs and the outer nafs. So now in terms of your sleep and your waking, when you sleep outwardly, so you become active inwardly. That's what you see as your dreams, because your inward nafs is active. You travel, you see people, you meet people. So that's the malakut nafs that is active, and the mulk one is dormant. So when you wake up, now outwardly. When you wake up now, the malakut nafs now is dormant, is inactive, and now this one is active, as we are here now. So this is how these two sides of you as a human being, they work. God says in Surah 2, Az-Zumar, Allah yatawaffa al-anfusa hina mawtiha wallati lam tamut fi manamiha. Allah take your soul when you sleep. If not when you sleep, when you die. فَيُمْسِكُ الَّتِي قَضَى عَلَيْهَا الْمَوْتِ. The one that is dead is been decreed on, God will hold them back. And the one that is yet to leave, God will release it to go back. So your nafs, whether either when you sleep or when you wake up, so the one that is inward, your inner nafs, called the malakuti nafs, when you sleep, goes back to God. And the outer one is dormant. And when you wake up, meaning waking up is relative. You wake up inwardly or you wake outwardly. But children, they are sleeping outwardly from the time they are born, because they just came back. They just came from the malakut. That's why they still carry the life and the nature of things in that world. So we need to leave them grow slowly and wake up outwardly. We should not force them to wake up. That's what we try to do through our education. That's why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that every child is born on the Fitra, but the parents educate them to be like them. They educate them to become, if they are Christians, they educate them to become Christian. If they follow Judaism, so whatever it is, whatever you follow the parents, because they think that it's better for the children, even though they don't know that it's not better for the children. So they force them to become the way they are. So we force them to grow faster than the normal pace. So children has to, since they are from the malakut, because the womb is part of the malakut. The mother's body where the child is formed, that's an extension of the ghaib. So the children come from the ghaib, they come from the malakut, and they come into our world, the world of the adults. So slowly, they need to grow up and wake up to this world. They are awake inwardly, it's just that they are not awake outwardly. The children, they are awake inwardly. You don't think that they don't know anything. Of course they know, but their knowledge is different from our knowledge. It's a different kind of knowledge. It's an inner knowledge. So spiritually they are more advanced than the adults. Until they become adult and they start to forget, they become more awake outwardly, and they began to be less awake inwardly as they become adult. So, but the best thing is that a balance should be, we should strike a balance between the two. So once a child grows, becomes an adult, and becomes aware of his outer self, النفس الظاهرة والنفس الملكي, then usually that's why we see the conflict in a human being when he becomes an adolescent, because now you have your two sides are kind of pulling you. The inner nafs is pulling you towards the inwardly, and the outer one is pulling you outwardly. So this is where it's a very critical phase that everybody in their growth goes through, between two worlds. You are pulled and polarized between two perceptions and two realities. So sometimes one may take over the other. If the outer nerves takes over, then you completely suppress your inner nerves. If the inner one takes over, then you suppress the outer one, as you can see. Either is not an ideal situation. But if at all, the inner one should be the one who should take over. Because that's where salvation will lie eventually. But that pulls you towards the inner life of Akhirah, and the other pulls you towards the outer life of this world. But keeping a balance, if possible, that's ideal. To keep a consciousness that is divided between the inner nerves and the outer nerves. So understanding all this will help us deal with children better. And the children's place in nature, in the universe. Because we spoke about two creations. The first creation is human being and everything else together. The second creation is human being alone. So there's only a human being. So in the first creation, God created the human being along with everything else. So he said, الذي أحسن كل شيء خلقه وبدأ خلق الإنسان من طين. So human beings created first and with everything else. In that first creation, we are part of everything else and one with everything else. And thus, children they have that ability to identify with the rest of creation more than adults. So children identify better with goats and lambs and camels and horses and donkeys and rest of the nature, because they are still with them at the same level of creation. That's the first creation, because everything is in Fitra, everything, and so the children also are. So they are integrated very well within the entire universe than adults are, than we are. So the more we can help them stay and be part of everything, the better for them. What that means is that the more we can expose them to nature. This is part of their fitrah. That's why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that every prophet was once a shepherd. So once a shepherd. They need to be with nature. They need to be with goats and lambs and camels and everything else, and become part of the first creation. That's what it means. Go back to the first creation. And keeping animals as the role of animals in our life is not just as providers of meat for human consumption. That's just very secondary role. Their primary role is, first of all, to be reminders for us about our fitrah. So they have is a much more nobler cause than we think of animals. They are very important for our life. So living a life without animals around you is not a very good one. It doesn't help. Living a life surrounded by only concrete and bricks and only metal and so forth, it's definitely one that doesn't help you come back to your fitra at all. But now we have children that are trapped in this urban atmosphere, so we need to give them a substitute for what they are missing in terms of being with nature. Even that just means just being with creatures other than adults. Because they in reality identify themselves with animals more than with adults. Okay, especially adults who are not enlightened or who are not in their fitra either. So children are out of place, surrounded by all these alienated beings that we call adults. So we have to really be compassionate and sympathetic with their place, with children. We need to help them, put them where they feel at home. And they feel at home when they are with nature, when they are with creatures like them, in their first creation, as we call in their primitive state. The word primitive looks pejorative in modern language, but it is not. Human beings need to be primitive and be modern at the same time. Primitive means being in your first creation. That's what we call primitive. So human societies who have remained in their first creation, we call them primitive societies. It doesn't mean that they are worse than us in any way. No, it's just the two sides of the spectrum. They are there to remind us about our first creation. We are those who live in urban societies are there to remind the others about the second creation. The urban societies is developed around the second creation. That's what produces all this, the use of the intellect and reason to produce civilization and urbanity. But Qur'an primarily and all the books before Qur'an, they have two basic roles to play or mission to accomplish. One is to fight jahl and dhulm. These are the two problems. Individually or collectively, human beings can tend to dhulm or jahl. In Surah Al-Ahzab, it says, إِنَّا عَرَضْنَا الْأَمَانَةَ عَلَى السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَالْجِبَالِ فَأَبَيْنَ أَن يَحْمِلْنَهَا وَأَشْفَقْنَ مِنْهَا وَحَمَلَهَا الْإِنسَانُ إِنَّهُ كَانَ ظَلُومًا جَهُولًا. We gave the trust, the amana, to the heavens and the earth and the mountains. Allah said, you can take the trust and take care of it. They refused to take it. فَأَبَيْنَ أَن يَحْمِلْنَهَا وَأَشْفَقْنَ مِنْهَا, and they were concerned, they are worried about their ability to do so. وَحَمَلَهَا الْإِنسَانُ, but the human being said to Allah, I will take the trust. Allah said, إِنَّهُ كَانَ ظَلُومًا جَهُولًا. Human being was wrongful, dhulm, jahula, and ignorant. So jahl and dhulm. So the books are revealed to fight these two diseases at individual level or collective level. Now, human societies can be also divided into two basic societies. Societies of dhulmaniya and societies of jahiliya. Societies where dhulm is prevalent. Societies where jahl is prevalent. So different messengers came to different kind of societies. And they are equipped to fight these problems. Whether they have a revealed book or they have, Allah has given them a knowledge and wisdom of their own. Society of Dhulmaniya, the example of that is urban societies, the one we live in now. Society of Dhulmaniya. These are societies where when a child is born in this society, they lose their fitra very quickly. They lose that the love and appreciation for beauty in nature and the universe. They lose their appreciation for things like poetry, because poetry is about exploring divine beauty as manifested in the universe. Okay. That's what a poet does. And all of us, every human being is born as a poet. It doesn't have to be a poet in the regular sense, but we are all born with that inner poetry that's within us, meaning that inner yearning for beauty. That's what poetry is about. So we are all born with that ability to appreciate beautiful things and graceful things. But the urban society very soon will kill that. And it will stifle completely that spontaneous nature in children. Being spontaneous, just being free, carefree. Because very soon, as parents, and of course at the school as well, they tell him, don't do this, don't go past this limit. So they keep on putting barriers and boundaries and boundaries and boundaries until he cannot spontaneously act anymore. Before doing it, he has to calculate many times before he acts. So in this way, the ummi side of you is completely erased. So you only go by your reason. You have to rationalize everything. You cannot directly experience things without breaking them down into detail. So that's what Dhulmani society, that's what the society does to a child. So when the children are born, so our schools, we need to create schools that are able to protect this in children. And that's one reason I was motivated to start a school, because it's a very daunting task in the Western world. But there's no choice, because I want to help my own children and children of other families to help them, help these children preserve their fitra and not to have it destroyed, in their infancy in public schools and so forth. So that's one of the reasons that I have experimented, and we are still in the process. Our primary goal, if the child can preserve their fitra, then we have succeeded. That's a mark of success for us. So, and raise a child that is not a zalim or madhloom either way. A child that grows with excellence of nature. A child that grows into adulthood with their fitra intact. If we are able to do that, we have succeeded. And وَالرَّحْمَنُ عَلَّمَ الْقُرْآنِ, God will teach them, inshallah. If they are meant to be a scholar, they will become a scholar, for sure. How many children? I grew in a very small village until the age of, I haven't been to the city till the age of 14. And I haven't learned English or French, let alone Greek, Latin, and so forth, until when I was way into close to my 20. But I learned. And there are those who went to school from childhood, and they haven't been able to learn that many languages as I did. So as I said, what I'm saying that is that if God wants to teach somebody, He will teach you. So Ar-Rahman, as Asma said to the teacher, Ar-Rahman allama al-Qur'an. So that's the Dhulmani society. As I said, that a society or individuals. So if you have a child in your family, just apply it at your own level. let the child, let them be, you know. Let them be. Unless they come to a point when they are about to endanger their own life, or another child's life, then you can interfere. Until then, let them be. It's just their nature. That's how God created them. Fitrat Allah. Don't change it. So that's the Dhulmani society. Dhulmani, yeah? Then the Jahili society is what we call the primitive societies. So said, the modern and the primitive. And if modern is a good word, then primitive is a good word too. It's just the application. And we need to be both modern and primitive to be a balanced human being. So our societies where also, as I said, is the other end of the spectrum where there's no rules, there's no boundaries. It's all open. That also is not good. There has to be some measure, there is some level of reasoning and rationalizing. Not too much of it, but a little bit of it is necessary to have a viable, smooth social life. So the society of Jahiliyyah, a society where there's no rules, that's how Arabia was when Islam came. That's what we call Jahiliyyah. They live in the desert, where there was no measure, there's no boundaries. They do everything in excess. They do everything overboard. If somebody kills one member of your family, you go and kill the whole tribe. So there is lawlessness. So that's the nature of people who live in Jahiliyyah societies. So when a child also is born in that society, naturally is going to tend to Jahiliyyah. He will not know where the limit is. Doesn't know where to draw the line. So we see how it's a fine line. So you have to be somewhere in between these two. Between the Jahiliyyah society and the Dhulmaniya society. That's the society that was created in Medina 14 centuries ago. So when a child is born in that society, then they are born with their fitra. And they are born very ready to know God and to know the world around them. With the least effort of teaching. Doesn't need lots of teaching. When somebody is their fitra, they don't need to be told much. Just a little bit is enough. They can get the rest on their own. So the hadith about Khayrul Qur'an Qarni, that the best generation is my generation, Prophet ﷺ says, and the one after, and the one after, that's how they were in those generations. People had their fitra intact. And in those times, people didn't have schools like schools of tasawwuf because it was not necessary. If your fitra is right, you just meet your teacher and you get the touch instantly. But when the fitra is damaged, then the teacher has to work on fixing your fitra. That may take 10 years. Fix your fitra first and then begin to teach you. Second, you can see it can take longer. If your fitra is right, you just need just a moment of teaching. And the rest, Ar-Rahmanu allama al-Qur'an, God will show you the rest. So this is the basic understandings about the nature of children, and of course us as well, because we need to maintain that child in us. We were children and we should always be children, even when we become adults. So that child, that ummi should always remain within us, so that we can relate better to our children so that we can become capable parents, parents who are able to be children once again when they have to, and not force children to become adults. That's the wrong way to go.